In Manhattan Beach this October, condos and townhomes near the Sand section and Village corridors sold in a median of just 6 days at 98.2% of their asking price, while single-family homes up in the Tree and Hill sections took 18 days and sellers gave up nearly 5% in negotiations. If you're a homeowner in Manhattan Beach, that split is the entire game. And if you're thinking about selling in the next 6 to 12 months, this is the window you're deciding on. Today's market, where sellers still have the upper hand, versus tomorrow's, shaped by major city investments and a recent interest rate shift. Get this wrong, and you don't just sell for less, you spend your entire escrow defending your price with credits and reductions. It all depends on which of the two markets your property actually lives in right now. If you own in the Sand, Tree, Hill, or Village, do you know which one you're actually in today? By the end of this video, you'll be able to answer that. And one more big one: should you sell into this market or hold and ride the next chapter of Manhattan Beach's evolution? And there's one pricing mistake I see over and over in both markets that quietly hand buyers the upper hand. I'll show you exactly what it is when we get to the scoreboard. Imagine you're walking near the pier on a Wednesday and a new for sale sign goes up on a townhome. By the time you walk past it again on your way to brunch that Sunday, there's a sale pending sticker already on it. That's not a one-off. That's how the market behaves right now. This is the tale of two markets, what I call the frantic velocity market and the deliberate luxury market. And it's all happening on a foundation of extreme scarcity. The condo market is running on just 2.1 months of inventory, while the single family market sits on a lean 2.4 months, which means if you own in any of these pockets, you're still in seller's market territory. The question isn't, can I sell? It's, how do I sell without leaving money on the table? I'm Hernandez, your real estate advisor here in Manhattan Beach. My job isn't just to hand you numbers. It's to turn this fractured market into a clear flight plan for your next move. Because to understand this market, you have to abandon the idea of a single market. Citywide reports are a dangerous oversimplification. I'm going to give you the precision you need to make a smart decision. Here's the roadmap. First, where speed and bidding power live so you don't miss price. Second, where deliberation and what I call the rationality buffer are capping how far buyers will stretch. Third, the value engine segment, where well-positioned listings quietly beat the averages. And finally, how rates and long-term city planning collide with your plan. Let's start with that frantic velocity market. If you own a condo or a townhome in Manhattan Beach, especially near the pier or the Sand section, this is your world. The headline numbers, 6 days on market and sales at 98.2% of lists, tell a story of intense competition. But to truly understand the power you hold as a seller, you have to look under the hood. The most revealing number is the price per square foot, which is $1,013. That's over $200 per square foot less than the single family home. This isn't just about a smaller footprint, it signifies a completely different value calculation. Buyers in this segment are aggressively paying for the location, not just the assets. They are buying the zip code, the world-class Manhattan Beach school system, the walkability, and the beach lifestyle. The physical unit is in many ways secondary. That pulls demand from a wide range of buyers, first-time buyers, downsizers, investors, into a very small pool of available homes. And it creates a market of really intense competition. Remember, in this lane, speed is your weapon. You're engineering a 6-day auction, not a 6-week science experiment. For a homeowner in the Village or Sand section, there is no time for a test price. If you list even 5% too high, let's just see what happens at the top of the range, you miss the entire wave of serious buyers. Your first weekend is your only market. This is why the strategy for you is all about process. You use a compressed timeline to your advantage with a best and final strategy. List the property on Wednesday, schedule a packed and controlled open house for Saturday and Sunday, and set a firm deadline on Monday at 5 p.m. for all offers. This process creates a pressure cooker environment. It forces all interested buyers to put their strongest foot forward at the same time, and that's what generates the bidding war that pushes your final sales price well above list and beyond that 98.2% median. In a moment, when we put these two markets side by side, you'll see exactly how expensive that first week misstep can be. Now let's pivot to what I call the deliberate luxury market, the single family homes up in the Tree and Hill sections. This is the most misunderstood segment in the city. The median sales price is a formidable $3.9 million, but that number is only part of the story. The most telling data point shows up when we compare what homes sold for with what sellers are asking for. The median list price for the 53 homes still active on the market at the end of October was significantly higher at $4.3 million. That gap is explained by the average sell to list price ratio, which stood at 95.1%. That's a critical number. It tells you there's a gap between what sellers hope to get and what buyers are ultimately willing to pay. That's where the rationality buffer shows up. The simple idea that a $4 million purchase is complex and buyers need time. The pace of this market is deliberate. The median days on market here is 18 days, 3 times slower than a condo. In any other part of the country, 18 days would be incredibly fast, but in the context of Manhattan Beach, it represents rationality. This is a market feature, not a flaw. A multi-million-dollar purchase often involves significant asset liquidation or complex financing. An 18-day median days on market suggests a property survives 2 to 3 weekends on the market, giving qualified buyers the breathing room they need. In this lane, precision is your weapon. You win by taking questions off the table before your buyer's inspection ever arrives. For a homeowner in the tree or hill section, that 95.1% ratio translates to an average negotiation of over $200,000 at today's price points. And that money is being carved out during the due diligence. If you've got a tree or hill section home with a few big maintenance items you've been putting off, this is where 18 days on market quietly turns into 6-figure concessions. Order the pre-list inspection the same week you pick your list price. And when we compare this to the condo side, you'll see why some sellers brag about beating their list price while others quietly write big checks at the closing table. Now, there's a third lane I watch that I call the value engine. It isn't a separate zip code, it's the subset of listings in both markets that actually run the full playbook. Staging and sharp auction style pricing in the frantic velocity lane, and pre-list inspections plus clean condition in the deliberate luxury lane. These are the homes that quietly beat those medians. The condos that push above the 98.2% of lists because they launch into a true 6-day auction, and the tree and hill homes that stay much closer to list and protect that $200,000 of negotiation because the big questions were answered before the inspection ever showed up. If you want to be in this lane, your job isn't to change the market, it's to execute better than your closest competition inside it. So quick scoreboard. In the frantic velocity market, that's your sand and village condos and townhomes. We're at 6 days on market and 98.2% of list. Speed is your weapon. In the deliberate luxury market, tree and hill single family homes, we're at 18 days on market and 95.1% of list. Precision is your weapon. And then there's what I call the value engine. Those listings in either lane that actually run the full playbook. They're the ones quietly beating those medians instead of donating equity in negotiations. The biggest pricing mistake I see is treating those markets the same. Do that and buyers win. If you want that scoreboard translated into a simple sell or hold answer for your address, click on the home valuation report in the description below. So that's the neighborhood math. Now let's talk about the part you can't see on a CMA. What rates, affordability, and City Hall are about to do to your buyer pool. First, financing costs are stabilizing. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage is hovering around 6.22%. For you as a seller, that means buyers can actually plan again. For condo and townhome sellers, a stable 6.22% rate keeps that 6-day buyer pool alive. For tree and hill section sellers, it gives high net worth buyers enough confidence to move on a $4 million decision without rushing. Second, the Federal Reserve has officially pivoted, which means the threat of punishingly high interest rates is off the table. If you own in Manhattan Beach, a recent report showed that only 17% of households statewide can afford the median price home. That number isn't a headline for you to worry about. It's the statistical proof of this market's insulation. It confirms your buyer pool isn't the top 17% of California, it's the top 1 to 5% of global wealth. And that changes everything about our strategy. It means our marketing isn't about convincing people to stretch, it's about being the most compelling, best prepared option for the small pool of buyers who have already decided they want to be in Manhattan Beach. All of this data is built on the scarcity of a premium lifestyle, and the city's long-term plan is to make that product even more exclusive. Here's the simple three-part story of what's happening. First, a forward-thinking city government identified the three pillars of Manhattan Beach's value: its environment, community, and security. Second, the city is now executing major funded projects to enhance all three, from a massive stormwater project to a high-tech modernization of the police department. Third, this shows up as cleaner water, modern community hubs, and a tangible bubble of safety. It is the city actively reinvesting to protect your property value. If you're a 10+ year hold, these projects are part of the reason you stay. If you're a 1 to 5 year move, they're the backdrop you're selling into before the next round of construction and upgrades hits. This creates the central conflict: today's leverage versus tomorrow's legacy. Right now, you're living in a market that offers incredible leverage to sellers, but the city is actively working to make the long-term owner proposition even stronger. If you do nothing, that's still a decision. You're choosing to ride through the implementation phase to capture that future value. So the big question is this: how do you play your cards in this market? If you're 6 to 12 months out from a possible sale and you don't want to guess on timing, pricing, or which lane you're actually in, click the link in the description to book a one-on-one strategy session. You want to walk away with a one-page game plan for your section, your price band, and your timeline, not a generic CMA. Let's build your flight plan together.